Yes. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to have you all on this call tonight. On behalf of the leadership of Laplace Metaverse and the Society of Disaster Management Volunteers Initiative, you are all welcome to this all important seminar tonight. This seminar is put together by these two organizations in commemoration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, with a theme for this year: Fund Resilience, not Disaster. And the theme of our seminar tonight is Emergency Response and Disaster Prevention. I want to believe that we had a wonderful time on the WhatsApp class, and I want us to do a quick review while waiting for our speakers to join us on this call tonight. We have two speakers tonight. We have Professor Edwin Igwisi of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and we have Ibrahim Okbayemi Abdulrahim from the Federal Fire Service. They will be anchoring this seminar for us tonight. While waiting for them to join us, we'd like to get one or two feedbacks from us in the course of the warm-up WhatsApp session that we had. I want to believe majority of us attended the WhatsApp class, and you have one or two things to say. All right. So if you have something to say, let me see your hands up. Just raise your hands, and you'll be given the privilege to speak. As soon as our first speaker for tonight comes up, no other person but Professor Edwin Igwisi, we will continue from there. But in the interim, want to hear from us. Those of us who attended the WhatsApp class, just raise your hand and you'll be given the privilege to speak to us tonight. All right. Priska Oyeye. Oh, she's gone. Okay, Priska, kindly unmute your mic.
Thank you, everyone. I'm joining from Italy. I'm a training provider, and I would say that this course is one of the best I have ever heard, and the participation was really engaging. So both the contents and some of the questions that were being raised were very entertaining. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Priska, for that wonderful feedback. Won Korea John, kindly unmute your mic.
Good evening, everyone. I must
Good
say
evening, sir.
it's been an impactful class. At least to an extent, I've learned the classes from fire. I've done that before, but at least there's a reminder on how to prevent it, not just the global level, even at one's environment, to ensure that things are put in place. Like if you go around the houses we have now, you discover that not all of them have firefighting agents. So I think it's an eye-opener to us, to me personally, to educate my environment about the importance of prevention of fire and how to keep fire away from reach.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful feedback. We appreciate your feedback. Okay, are we still having any other person? If you want to speak, just raise your hand. We'll give you the privilege to speak. You are speaking based on the section we had on WhatsApp. Just raise your hands. Johnson, no, please unmute her. Kindly unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. The WhatsApp
Welcome,
forum was really great, considering I came to learn about many things, including the technicalities of how disaster management should be handled, how fires are prevented, and to see that it's so much I have to learn so that I may be able to also teach people who are under me to take up this course and also prevent fires. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Johnson Ruhio. Enobong, kindly unmute your mic. We are waiting for Prof to join us. As soon as he joins us. Oh, Professor Egusi is around. Okay, Enobong, please, you are the last speaker this minute so that we can proceed. Prof is here already.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I want to specifically thank you. Yes, I want to specifically thank you for the organizing this program, this training for us, and this fire training specifically. I'm very happy to be among a participant in this training. Thank you a lot.
All right. Thank you very much, Enobong. No, it's not Egusi. Yeah. All right, Prof, please kindly unmute your mic, sir.
Yeah. Hello, hi everyone.
Hi,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you, sir?
Yeah, good, thank you. Glad to be here again. Can I start, or you are still?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. I'm glad to be with each and every one of us again. Today, like he said earlier, is World Disaster Day celebration. The United Nations International Office for Disaster Risk Reduction has worked out a particular day, October 13th every year, where we celebrate World Disaster Day. And this year's theme is actually funding resilience, and not disasters. But of course, it is within the ambit of this global theme that we are picking up the issue of fire disaster today. So today we will be looking at emergency response and disaster prevention in a case study of fire disaster. What that means simply is that we want to find out how to prevent and how to respond to fire disasters in every area of our residence, whether it's in the market, it's in the houses, business premises, industrial location, everywhere. And of course, you know that as in every human habitation, we use fire directly or indirectly, including electricity and all of that. And of course, we know fire is a hazard. And if you don't manage it properly, it can turn to become a disaster. You probably also already know that when there's a hazard, a disaster will occur, particularly if vulnerability is low and the capacity is also low. If the vulnerability is high and the capacity is low, of course, disaster will occur. Now, talking about fire prevention and response, there are activities or programs that we usually undertake for us to achieve both of these disaster management themes. Earlier in the day, you saw in your WhatsApp platform where one of my colleagues was talking about the disaster management cycle, which includes the prevention, preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery and rehabilitation, as the case may be. Now, for today, I will be looking at prevention and response. My colleague later will be coming on in about 1 hour time, about 15 minutes time, and he will be looking at the fire itself. So I wouldn't want to duplicate what he's going to say. Let me not overlap too much on what he's going to say. I will leave the whole issue of what is fire itself and all the things about fire to him. He's a fire expert. He's coming from the Federal Fire Service. He's the right person, he's the authority to talk about fire. But I'm going to talk generally about how to prevent and how to respond to fire from the disaster management perspective. Of course, I have been introduced earlier. I work with the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Development Studies here at Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. We do disaster management at all levels. We teach students, we undertake research, and we do community development as well as consultancy in disaster management. So I am taking it from that perspective. Now, like I was saying earlier, when you are talking about fire prevention, the key issues will be what are the activities in prevention? What are the programs in prevention? Now, the first thing, when you were talking about preventing a fire incident, it's that you need to conduct regular fire safety inspection of residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. That's the first thing as a way of prevention. And this is one of the things that I teach students here in the university, that we can prevent some hazard from becoming a disaster. In other words, you can actually prevent some disasters. Some disasters are preventable. It's not all hazard that will become a disaster. Some disasters are preventable. So fire, for me, for us here, is a preventable disaster if we handle it well, particularly if we handle the aspect of prevention well. And the first thing we do in prevention is fire safety inspection and regulation. What does that mean? It simply means that we conduct regular fire safety inspection of residential, commercial, industrial buildings. And I don't see much of this regularly in Nigeria. I don't see that in our markets. I don't see that in our residential areas. But I think maybe when my colleague comes later, he's from the Federal Fire Service, they are the authorities and the expert, he probably may want to look at this aspect. A second thing we do, second activity we do when we are talking of preventing fires is we enforce what we call National Fire Safety Code. We call it Code 2013 because it was put together in the year 2013. Now, this is a set of regulations made to prevent fire outbreak in homes and environment. It's a document, it's a framework for preventing fire outbreak. Now, if we implement that guideline very well, we might go a long way in preventing the occurrence of fire disasters in our homes. So the guideline for fire risk assessment, building safety, the emergency response, monitoring compliance with electricity, gas, and everything is contained in this document. And I want to recommend it to every one of us, maybe at the end of this lecture, maybe you can Google it, just National Fire Safety Code 2013. It's a document that was put together. It's actually an act, that was put together. It's a law that regulates what to do, how to manage fires in all your residential areas and all of that. That is part of the way we can prevent this thing. If we know what to do, then we are halfway through in managing fire disasters. Now, the third thing we do when we are looking at preventing fire is we do what is called a fire hazard identification and mapping. What does that mean? That means in anywhere we live, in the market, in our business premises, in our shops, in our houses, in our industrial premises, in that salon, the barber shop, we can do what is called a fire hazard identification and mapping. That simply means what are the likely causes? What are the most likely causes of fire? Will it be the electrical point? Will it be some wires that we have used our hands to tie together instead of getting an expert electrician to do this connection? Could it be some kind of electrical gadgets that are not very effective, that are defective? And maybe when there's power surge, then the thing becomes a problem for everyone? Or is it in the restaurant, cooking places, where you put on the gas, the gas is on, and somebody is doing something else. You leave the fireplace and come to somewhere else. There was an incident in Samaru where the university is a couple of years back. What happened was that this fellow went to buy gas, the gas cylinder, and the thing was not properly locked. And the person dropped the thing near where they are cooking, near the fireplace. Before you knew, it was a huge explosion, and the whole restaurant burnt down completely. So these are some of the things we need to find out. So we should be able to identify fire-prone areas. For example, in our residential areas, like all these shanty towns, informal settlements, they are fire-prone. I was in a place in South Africa some years back, I think 2014 or thereabout. And it was one of those Cape Town provinces, Cape Town province. And we went to this, they call them shank or shanty towns. And we're told that there's regular fire outbreak there because people, they smoke a lot. And when they smoke, they don't throw the remaining part of the cigarette somehow, and the thing will catch fire and all of that. So these are some of the things that we need to look out for. And then we can also do some mapping. Mapping doesn't mean you have to know geography as such. It's simply to get a sketch, do a sketch, get a paper and sketch, okay? These are the areas that are prone to fire. For example, places where they sell gas, these gas refilling stations. If there are no proper precautionary measures taken, that would be a very good area for fire to come out. Even the filling stations, how many of them really have sand buckets? How many of them have fire extinguishers? How many of them will tell you to put off your ignition, the car ignition before you fill your tank and things like that? So those are areas that people should be very careful when you go into such areas. And so, for example, the water hydrant, we also have to have a good knowledge of where to find them and all of that. Then the third thing when we are talking about prevention is this issue of public awareness campaign, public enlightenment. How aware are the people about what to do and what not to do, the do's and the don'ts about fire safety. There was this time we did in the center here, we did public awareness materials for NEMA. I think NEMA gave us, it was a consultancy, it was a job we did, and we did public awareness for a variety of hazards. And one of the hazards we worked on was the fire. And we came up with some, flyers, there were some flyers and some jingle, radio jingle, FM on FM, and flyers, posters, and translated from English to other local languages. So that's the way you can do it. Or people move around community to sensitize people that look, these are the causes of fire, and you should not play with such things. For example, when there is smoke in a building, one of the things we are told is that if you stand upright, you are likely to inhale most of it because the smoke will be close to the ceiling. But if you crawl on the ground, close to the floor, you are likely to come out safe because the smoke will be less at the floor than close to the ceiling, and things like that. This is knowledge. This is public enlightenment and all of that. And part of it also is that even in your kitchen, you should have a fire extinguisher. Even in your car, you should have a fire extinguisher. In your offices, you should have a fire extinguisher. These are for preventive purposes, just in case. You may have a fire extinguisher in your office, and for 10 years, you never get to use it. Fine. Nobody prays for fire outbreak. Nobody prays for fire disaster. But it's good to have those things because they say prevention is better than cure. So now the third thing you do when you are talking about prevention is community training and capacity building. What does this mean? This simply means that we need to train people on a variety of things with reference to preventing fire outbreak. One of the things we do is to conduct basic firefighting and fire safety orientation for residents and employees in maybe in business premises, in the industry, and all of that. So we need to basic firefighting training and fire safety is very important. You will say you are not a firefighter, you are not a federal fire service. Why should you be trained? But the fire service people don't come until there's an emergency. They wouldn't come until there's a disaster. But for you that is there, you can do a few things even before the fire service comes. That is the whole idea. There are a few things you can do as an individual, as a person, to prevent or to respond to the fire incident before the fire service comes. Sometimes the fire service people, the firefighting, the fire brigade, they may not have sufficient resources to respond as quickly as we wish. Sometimes they may not have fuel in their vehicle. Now fuel is a big deal in Nigeria now. Or the vehicle may not be very fine. But before, maybe before they come, it's about 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a whole lot of time, and the damage could have been done. So there's a need for us to undergo some of these basic trainings. And again, we should also, part of that item 4 is organize fire brigade and volunteer fire group training. Volunteer training, train school personnel and students in fire response programs, procedure. Train school children, adults. You can train them in such a way that when there's a fire outbreak in the place, they should be able to do something before the authorities, the experts will come. And again, on top of that, we should also think of fire drills and simulation exercises. Fire drills, simulation exercises that you just create a scenario as if a fire is occurring, and let's see how people will respond. That's what they call a fire drill. You can just sound an alarm for fire. If you have an alarm in your premises, as if fire has started, and let's see how people respond. Whether the training you give to the people is really working, whether the public enlightenment campaign is working, whether all the flyers and the posters you put out are working, you do a fire drill. It's a simulation exercise. It's like you are simulating what will happen in the real event of a fire, and see how people respond. So the response will not tell you whether the people are adequately prepared or not. So that's part of prevention. And you know, sometimes you have to do what is called the fire evacuation drills and all of that, particularly in school premises where you have school children. You know, when there's a fire like that, one of the things you don't want to let happen is it's stampede, where people, they are not sure what to do. Everybody is stepping on each other. You may discover that the casualties from the stampede may be more than what the fire incident would cause. But if everybody knows what to do, then there will be less of a chaos, less of a commotion, and of course, people will get out alive safely. Yeah, one of the things that we also teach, that there must be what they call a place where we gather people to go and stay, so that when they know where to go to evacuation site, then you're able to take a head count, find out if everybody in each of the classes is out, and all of that. But if there is no formal organization of this kind of process, it may be difficult to manage situation. Now, we also can do nighttime fire exercises in case of a fire breaking up in the night. Not only in school premises, we can also simulate fire occurring in the night in our communities, because sometimes we find that the fire actually occurs in the night. And if you've not had some exercises or a drill to simulate such an occurrence, it will be difficult for you to handle when the real life thing happens. And so that takes us to the next issue, which is emergency planning. These are all still part of the process of emergency, prevention of fire. Emergency planning, what does that mean? It simply means that we develop fire emergency and evacuation plans. Fire evacuation plan. It's a plan. There must be a plan in case a fire outbreak occurs. What should we do? Who does what? Where do you take the people to? Where are the resources to take people, to move people, and things like that? That's a plan. There has to be a plan. So part of the prevention is to get a plan ready. You can call it prevention, you can call it preparedness. Prevention and preparedness are almost, they are close, they're almost the same thing, although they are not synonyms in disaster management. There's prevention before preparedness. So you must have a plan, you know, and the question you probably will ask me is, who draws such a plan? Anybody can draw a plan. It's a plan simply means, if in the case of a fire incident, a fire accident, fire disaster, what do we do? Who does what? And where do you take the people to? And what are the resources available? Where would the money come from? Where, and all of that. So it is very important to be able to do such a thing. And again, a part of the emergency planning is that we should be able to establish communication protocols. Communication is very important. If you don't have good communication system, you may not be able to call the emergency toll number, the In Nigeria, I think in Kaduna State, for example, I think it's 211 or so. Is it 112 or 211? Yeah, I'll confirm that before the end of this class. So when you call that the toll number, it's not charged to your account. It doesn't, the MTN people or the Airtel or the Glo people, they won't take anything from you because it's an emergency number. And when you call them, they will be able to be with you in a record time, usually less than 5 minutes, and so on and so forth. So we need to establish all these protocols, communication, who calls and what to call, and all of that. So the next thing about prevention, it's this issue called installation and maintenance of fire equipment. It's very important, very important. Earlier I was talking about fire extinguishers. It's very important, even in offices. Here we are, where right now I'm in one of the classrooms here in the university. On the corridor, we have fire extinguishers. Some of the fire extinguishers in our corridor, we have never had any, we've never used any of these fire extinguishers, as far as I know, for several years. Some of them have become bad and we've had to replace them over and over again and all of that, because these things have expiry date. When they expire, we put another one. This is part of the things that we do. And sand buckets. We've never had incident of fire incident in the university, here in my department, in the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Development Studies. But we have all these equipment here. And again, you also need to if you have some premises, you have what is called the smoke detectors and the sprinkler system. I see that in hotels. We don't have them in the university here. What that means is that if you're in a hotel room and for one reason or the other, smoke or fire start coming out, the thing automatically sprays the whole room with water so as to douse the flame and all of that. So these things are important. And of course, if you have all these things, you must maintain them regularly. Earlier, I was talking about fire truck. The university has a fire service. We have a fire brigade section, and I see them maintain those vehicles regularly. Maintain your vehicle. The water hydrants have to be maintained regularly, because it's not when you need the water that you come and try to fetch. Maybe at that time something malfunctions and you are not able to get the required amount of water you need for your fire truck. So these are some of the things that we need to do as often as possible. And if we do all these things well, we might actually prevent a fire incident. That is the whole purpose. That is the whole purpose. And in disaster management, we give so much emphasis. We put so much emphasis on prevention, because we know that if we do the prevention well, we may not even have a fire incident. And that is what is called disaster risk reduction activities. Disaster risk reduction, DRR. We believe that we can actually reduce the disaster incident if we do a lot of prevention, a lot of preparedness, and a lot of mitigation. We can actually prevent it. We can actually prevent it. We don't, if you don't do all this prevention and all this stuff, preparedness and all of that, you might discover that you now have a big problem in your hands. And when you now have a fire incident, then you're already in what they call emergency phase, because you now have a disaster, you have a fire incident, you have a big fire in your hand, a market fire or a school fire, and you now go into emergency phase. At the emergency phase, the things have happened, and now you're trying to go into response and rescue people and all of that. So the response phase is when we try to prevent the fire incident, and somehow the fire incident still occurs. Let me say that again. You've tried everything, all these activities and programs I've been talking about 7 or 8 of them, and yet a fire incident still happens. Then you now transit to what is called a response phase. Response phase means you are trying to get into the fire site, and you are trying to rescue people, because that's the first thing you do when you go for response phase is search and rescue, picking out lives, not very much for properties. There will be time for properties. It's life that matters at that point. And we are also trying to see if you can, in the case of fire, whether you can reduce the fire, the magnitude of the fire itself. That is where the expert, the fire service people come in, and they're able to put out the fire and rescue as many people as possible, because they, from their special training and from the special equipment they have, the personal protection equipment they have, they are able to get into the fire without getting burned, and able to have the ability to get people out of the fire and rescue a lot of people. So that takes us to the next issue, which is the response phase. Now, response phase, like I said, is that the incident has happened. You try to prevent it, but you couldn't really quite prevent it. You couldn't really prevent a fire incident from happening. Now it has happened. So what do you do? So in this case now, there are a lot of activities. There are quite a number of activities you can also do when you are talking about response. When you're talking about response, there are quite a number of activities that you also do, programs or activities. One of them is the fire suppression and rescue operation. Fire suppression and rescue operation, that's one of the things that we do so as to curtail the fire incident and to reduce the magnitude and to reduce damage and losses, particularly if we are looking at commercial environment. So one of the things we do there is that we, the immediate dispatch of fire trucks and personnel. When you get the alarm for the fire service, the expert, my colleague, will be telling you more about that shortly after my lecture. They conduct search and rescue for trapped individuals. Like I said, the fire brigade people have this peculiar training. They have special equipment. They can get into fire without getting burned. Their overall, the boots they wear, the gadgets they put on their body guarantees that they won't get burned when they get into fire. So that's what you do. And then they apply their fire fighting tactics, and coordinate with volunteers, fire brigade, police, and all of that to ensure that their presence alone is very critical. It's very important at this stage when there's a fire incident. Otherwise, if you don't handle it at that point, it could spread. And once it spread, it becomes a little bit difficult to curtail. Now, the next thing you do when you are into response is that the evacuation and crowd control is usually you'll find a lot of people coming into the incident area, fire incident area, and obstructing vehicles from coming in, obstructing firefighting vehicles and all of that. So there's a need for good fire crowd control so that the fire vehicles and all of that can go in. And of course, you also need space to evacuate victims. You have to evacuate victims from the fire incident area to designated evacuation areas. It's very important because some people may be hurt already. Some people may be partially burned. You need to take them out and do what they call triage in medicine. You are trying to sort who is more affected, who is more impacted, and who is not too much impacted. You sort them, the ones that are more impacted by the fire, have to be taken very quickly to the hospital using the ambulance, and those who are not too impacted to some extent can be treated right there on the ground there with a little bit of first aid and all of that. So that's the sort of thing you do at that level. And sometimes you need to also create temporary shelter, because particularly if this is a residential area, people have lost their houses, and you are evacuating people from the ruins. You need to create a temporary shelter for them, what we might call the IDP camps, internally displaced persons camp. Internally displaced persons camp. There has to be a designated place where you take people to. That's part of the response. Response is not complete if you don't provide a place for people you are removing from their homes. There has to be a place for them to stay, a place for them to sleep, a place for them to rest, a place for them to take their shower or bath or change and all of that. You don't evacuate people and leave them on the street. No, you've not completed the job. So there have to be a place where you keep them, and that completes that area. Then there's a third part of it, which is the medical and emergency assistance. Now, when you have a fire incident in an area, part of the response team have to be the medics. It's not only the fire service, the medical people have to be there. All the medics, whether the paramedics or the final medics, everybody is there. And what they do, like I was talking about the triage thing, they are the ones that will help to sort out the various categories of people who are injured. You have different categories of burn. You have the first degree burn, second degree, third degree, and all kind of different magnitudes of burns. It is the medical people that will do the sorting, and the ambulance, they know where to go, and some certainly will go to the hospital, because if the burn is much severe, they have to be attended to as quickly as they are. So you administer first aid for those who can be administered first aid to them, and of course for those who require some intensive care, they have to go to intensive ICU, intensive care unit of the hospital. And so sometimes too, you also need people to counsel the people, psychosocial support for survivors. You need some psychosocial support for the people, for the victims. These are people who they are not truly they are not bond, but they have lost a lot of things. They are traumatized, maybe children, properties, and all of that. So they will need some kind of psychosocial support, people to console them, people to talk to them, people to counsel them, people to encourage them, and things like that, you know, and all of that. So that's part of the things that we need to also think about. Then you also have a fourth aspect of this response, which is the communication and coordination. Communication and coordination. Now, there's this thing in disaster management, which we call the Incident Command System, ICS, Incident Command System. I don't know, maybe my colleague who will come later will talk a little bit more about that. But the Incident Command System simply means somebody has to take charge of the incident area where the fire is, take control and organize things. The things needs to be organized. There has to be people for shelter. There has to be some people for materials. There have to be some people for medication. There has to be some people for different aspects of the disaster. That is what is called an incident command system. There are different people, different designations, different roles, different jobs for different people. That's an incident command system. It's for coordinating response because you have responses. The police will be there. The police will not enter the fire. No, the police will be for crowd control. The police will be for preventing people from stealing materials. You are bringing goods out of the shop so that they don't get burned. And if you are not careful, some people will come behind and steal those things. So the police have their role. The medical people have their role. The firefighters, the fire brigade have their role. So somebody has to coordinate all of these. The ambulances are coming and going. There have to be a place, a staging post where all these equipment are kept. Sometimes you need to create a resting place also. Sometimes if you have to manage the disaster and it lasts a day or two, people need to rest, and you have to create a place for them to rest. And somebody has to manage that. Somebody has to provide the resources for that. That's incident command system. And it's very important that we have this knowledge, and it helps us to do satisfactory job, effective response. Without ICS, you might have a chaotic situation where everybody will be falling upon each other. People will duplicating their jobs, other people's jobs. There will be gaps, there will be overlap because the thing is not properly organized. It will be chaotic. Everybody is just, doing one thing or the other. Some are not relevant, some are relevant, and things like that. So ICS is very important for proper coordination and management of fire disaster. And sometimes we need to do what is called the communication tool is very important. Earlier, I talked about using emergency toll line 211, and sometimes you need to use some kind of local radios and stuff like that. It depends on the situation you find yourself. But I think maybe my colleague will talk more about that, specifically what they use in their own case in the fire, because we are dealing with fire now specifically. The discussion for today is about fire. We were talking about floods, earthquakes, and all of that. I probably may have some other things to, but for fire, I will leave some of these things to him. And of course, the fifth thing you want to do when you are doing response is damage and needs assessment. After a rapid, what I call rapid needs assessment. What this means is that after the fire incident, obviously there will be some damages, there will be some losses. Losses are when the economy, whatever brings profit, your sales, your sales that are not made, whatever brings profit to you that is disrupted, that will be losses. Damage will be burnt when the house is burned, the furniture is burned, the car is burned, and things like that. That's damage. So we have damage and losses in disaster management, and you need to quickly do a needs assessment. And for some people, it's a whole livelihood that is lost. Maybe a barber shop, or maybe a salon, hairdresser salon, a tailor shop, maybe somebody's shop in the market, and so on. So you need to do a quick needs assessment, and the purpose of that is for us to do a quick estimate of how much losses and damages that is incurred by each individual. So if the government is bringing assistance, then we will now know how to do this thing in a logical manner, not through speculation. So we know that Mr. A, this was his losses, this were his damages. Mr. B, Mrs. C, and so on and so forth. That's the need for that. Damage and loss assessment is a module in disaster management. I wouldn't want to go too deep into that for now. It's a big thing. It's a semester course, damage and loss assessment. So I wouldn't want to go into that. But suffice it to tell us that after a disaster incident like this, we need to do a quick assessment, so that we know who has lost what, so that in case there's a grant, in case there are palliatives coming, we call them palliatives in Nigeria, but the classical term is a grant. When there's a grant to support the people, to revive the local economy, to kickstart the livelihoods, then we know who gets what, so that we don't do this thing blindly or through speculation, and we don't give people money anyhow. It has to be based on some logic, and the logic is through doing a damage and needs assessment. So this also implies a documenting casualties, property loss, identifying who to get relief, rehabilitation, and all of that. So it's very important that after a disaster like this, part of the response thing is that somebody should do something about this. We did something like this in 2012 after the flood incident in Nigeria, that major flood incident in the year 2012. We did what they call damage and loss assessment or post-disaster needs assessment, PDNA. We did a PDNA. The report is on the internet. Somebody can Google it. NEMA in association with UNDP and all of that. There's a report. If you Google it, 2012 flood, PDNA, post-disaster needs assessment for 2012 flood in Nigeria. So it's a whole book that contains the details of what was lost, what was damaged, how much was lost, how much was damaged, the spatial dimensions, the temporal dimensions, and all of that. So we did all of that. Sorry. Yeah. So and lastly, there is this relief and immediate assistance. We can also, sorry, I think I have a call from the organizers. I think maybe they're not hearing my voice again. Hello. Sorry, deliberate. Are you still following me? Hello. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reminded about the time. They said I have about 5 minutes left, so that I can have time for some questions. The last point is relief and immediate assistance. By relief, we mean somebody has to provide relief material, food, water, clothing to affected households, and offer emergency cash if there is coordinate. So, and you have to coordinate donations and volunteer support and all of that. All these things should not be done recklessly. It has to be done. In a logical manner. When people are bringing donations, they have to be somebody has to coordinate all these donations so that some places don't get more and some places don't get very little. So that some people don't get plenty and some people don't get very little. There has to be a coordination because the thing has happened. It's a whole community, it's a whole area, and so there must be equitable distribution of all these materials. So with that, I want to stop so that we can have time for some questions. Thank you so much. I want to take questions. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Hello, are you still with me? Are we together? Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. So I will just pause for questions and comments for the last 5 or 6 minutes, and wow. Yeah.
Once again,
sorry, before you take question, I deliberately gave this lecture slowly so that you can put something down. I know this lecture is being recorded and you are going to have a recorded copy. You're going to have a video. You're going to have a copy of this record. That's why I deliberately slowed down slowed my lecture down. Yes. Yes. Coordinator, please go ahead. Questions?
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Like I said, we are really grateful for your own. We are grateful for this presentation this night.
Thank
I
you.
will thank you sincerely for always honoring our call whenever we call you. I recall it's been quite a busy week for you and for us, and you have never disappointed us. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Sometimes I wish that some of those people who are leading us will have the kind of tenacity and commitment that we get from you people whenever we call you. Thank you so very much, sir. Now, please permit me to ask them to ask questions, and I'm sure you will be able to take their questions very quickly so that we'll go on to the second segment. The speaker is already here. He's signed in since I've seen him in the class. So please, Dr. Okafor Begeli.
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Okafor Begeli, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, ma'am. Unmute yourself and ask your question, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Prof. Thank you.
Dr. Okafor Begeli.
Yes,
unmute yourself and talk to us.
Yes, I've been muted. Please, thank you very much, Prof, for the lecture. My own is just
Engineer Deze.
My own is just a request.
Yes, ma'am.
Engineer Deze.
Okay, ma'am.
Your hand is up.
Yes,
please
I'm with
ask
you, ma'am.
your question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. And good evening, everyone. Yes, I'll go straight to my question. Prof, do you?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you are hearing me, sir.
I'm hearing you. I can hear you.
Are you hearing me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, my question is that do you believe our current fire codes and regulations are sufficient
If these two ladies
to
are
prevent
not here, their hands
large-scale
are up.
disasters?
Or
do we need a systematic overall?
It's unmuted, but maybe we can't hear her.
Yes, Dr. Daisy, Engineer Daisy.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Emmanuel, please unmute yourself.
The fire safety code.
I can hear you.
The fire safety code is not, I don't think it's very much in the public domain.
Okay.
It's a document that I think is still
Emmanuel, unmute
archived.
yourself.
It's still in the archive.
Okay.
I think what the fire service could do is to make this document popular, is to publicize this document as much as they can. Not many people. I know I am in this business. I am teaching disaster management. Not many people have a very good knowledge of this the fire safety code, and that fire safety code appears to be everything you need to know and to do about fire disasters. I quite agree with you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yes, and lastly, I want you to share example of successful fire disaster prevention model from other developing countries that Nigeria could replicate.
Okay. For me, I could take the example from South Africa. South Africa has gone a little bit far. It's a developing country just like Nigeria. And I think what is happening there is that the fire safety, the firefighting institution there is well equipped. Now, equipment in the sense that they have facilities, they have the financial resources, they have human resources, and they are good to go. Communication. In the case of any fire incident, their response time is usually less than 10 minutes. But for Nigeria, I'm not too sure. There are a lot of studies some of my students have undertaken on fire disasters in Nigeria. And one of the things that keep recurring in all these studies, the conclusion is that our fire brigade, the fire service institution in Nigeria are not well funded. So because of inadequate funding, the equipment are obsolete. The equipment that the firefighters need are also not as good as they should be in the developed nations. Like earlier, I was talking about PPE, personal protection equipment, the boot, the clothes, the shield, and all of that. I don't know how many of Nigerian firefighters have those things. Maybe at the federal fire service, fine. But at the state fire service, I don't think many of these things exist. And the trucks, how good are the fire trucks? We have had this incident, like I told you, my students have done quite a number of these things. You call the fire service and they tell you, sorry, the fire truck itself is down. Either no fuel or the battery is not working or they can't even get water into the tank and all of that. So the model that works is when you fund this fire institution properly, appropriately, it will work. Because that funding will provide the physical resources. It will give you the human resource. You have to train, because to fire service, you have to train and retrain and retrain, constant training. And you have to have materials for you to respond. Otherwise, we just have a fire service, a fire brigade that is not effective. Thank you, Engineer Daisy. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chibuike, yes, Chibuike, or William, Cyrus, Akpabio, any of you, Bridget.
All
hello?
right.
Yes.
Yeah, Kufre, please. Kufre, please open your mic.
That's Kufre Akpabio.
He's from your continue. Kufre Akpabio.
You are all raising your hands and you are not talking. Time is going. It's 8 o'clock.
Yes, they have to give us the go ahead before we can't just bump into the there's a madam coordinating.
Oh, they have to unmute. You have to unmute you. Okay.
Yes.
Akpabio is unmuted.
Hello.
Akpabio. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for this brilliant lecture.
When we are talking,
my question is simple. How do we
go ahead
eliminate? Hello.
Yes.
How do we eliminate our occurring political dynamics in disaster management?
Yes. We're not supposed to mix disaster management with politics. If you do that, you will have what is called a catastrophe. Because when you mix disaster management with politics, it gets a catastrophe, something that's more than a disaster. Because you will now start to say, okay, these are my political, this part of the state are my party loyalists. They are they are my people. These ones are not my people. You don't do that. If you do that, you create more problem for yourself. So for any reasonable government, that's where governance come in. We always emphasize this word, the governance. Akpabio, you are still with me? Kufre Akpabio.
Yes, sir.
So we don't
yes, Prof, I'm with you.
With disaster management.
Thank you, Prof.
Do that, it's a bigger problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
And, thank you very much, Tufyon. Let us, at this juncture, please suspend all the questions and take the second session. And at the end of the period, perhaps we may be able to revisit some of these questions. If, however, we are not able to, please, I'll urge you to please put your question on the chat box. And also, if it's not attended to, ask this question to the president of this association. With this note, I want to sincerely once again thank Professor Igusi for honoring this invitation and having the time and the patience to take us through all the different aspects of fighting fire, disaster, and so on. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
God
ma'am.
bless you.
Amen.
As you have
Thank
a
you.
very pleasant evening today.
Thank you.
Now let us quickly ask please you can send his team your emojis. Send Dr. Prof your emojis, react and say thank you to him. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow, 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 wow. God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate this.
Thank you.
Now, we'll quickly move over to the next speaker, Mr. Lpmv Ibrahim. Can you meet him? I can't find him now. No, so please unmute yourself and Mr. Lpmv Ibrahim is a very senior person in the Federal Fire Service Commission, and he is here this evening to take us through the topic causes we're going to talk to us on causes of fire and prevention as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Mr. Lpmv Ibrahim to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, particularly to the professor. I actually enjoy your lecture, and it's like one I would like to have again and again. To the organizers, I want to appreciate your initiative in bringing these things together. Fire is business of all, not just for one section or because we are fire officers. It has to be left for us alone. You will agree with me that even places of worship where we have prayers against things we don't want and prayers for things we want, fire are occurring in those places. So how much more are areas where we work and we do other things where prayer is not taking place? Fire is a very rapid chemical reaction, just as many of us know. It's a very rapid chemical reaction between oxygen and a combustible materials, which results in the release of heat, smoke, and flame. To a layman, every one of us will deal with fire on a daily basis. Just like when I have younger audience, I normally ask them that is fire your friend or your enemy? Okay? When you ask people, will ask, what do you mean? How could fire be my friend? Fire is obviously our enemy. Okay? But in any of the lecture, we will make sure at the end of the day, people will made to know that fire is primarily our friend. Primarily, ordinarily is our friend. Because we use fire, or fire aided us to get so many things done. When we say the word fire, we are not just referring to the one with flame that we use in cooking alone. It all encompasses both the one in the engine, the one the AC uses, the one in the car, and the rest. Okay, if it malfunctions, you will now see the real result where it will lead to what? A flame. So fire has helped us to make our daily meals possible. It has made our movement from one place to another possible. It has made our homes lightning possible, and a lot of other things where fire has assisted us. in making things easier. So if these things or this thing particularly made all these things we said easier for us, of course you agree with me. Fire becomes or is our enemy. Of course, fire could also become fire is our friend rather. Of course, fire could also become our enemy. The only condition where fire becomes when you fail, when you handle fire carelessly, when you refuse to obey safety rules and regulations. That's when fire will now become our enemy because it will have destroyed our properties, our valuables, and even at times lives. In the course of the lecture of the prof, he was talking about degrees of burns. When you have first degree, second degree, third degree, you may never appreciate the skin the way it is in your body until when you see a fire victim. That's when you know that the layers of our body is as important as the life itself. Okay. Now the word of contention here is causes of fire. There are very long numbers of causes of fire depending on the experience you've had or what you've read about. But in a nutshell, all these things you're seeing are now being classified or summarized into three, as we had in our book. But many of us, we've been raising points to make sure that this thing is further summarized into two. Okay? The initial three we had was act of carelessness as number one causes of fire. Act of what? Carelessness. The second one is accident. When we say accident, it's something that happens suddenly, okay? It could be natural, it could be artificial. And the third one is the willful act, deliberate act of setting a place on fire. So probably to cover up dubious act or to gain cheap political popularity. I will not pick each of these three one after the other in expatiating the terms. Carelessness is so broad, depending on what you can take, both from the kitchen to the office, to the road, to the workshop, to school. It's an act of not paying adequate attention to what you're doing, act of negligence. We have it so many, particularly our ladies, that you see someone watching a movie, very interesting movie. You are watching it, and you have your food on fire. Probably you are alone, or the little quantity of water you needed to make the food you intend making is what you place on fire. But you have a film that a movie that you want to see the end, and that movie has taken your mind away from what you are cooking. Only what will wake you up or what will notify you that something is happening is the smoke from the kitchen. So if such an act lead to fire, we call it what? Carelessness. Today in Nigeria, we have scarcity of gas, which is making the price of gas skyrocketed, and many other people are taking advantage of it. Now you are in your kitchen cooking, suddenly you discover that your gas finished. You just rush to the gas cylinder, disconnect it from the snob from the burner, and you rushed to refill the gas at the gas station. When you return, you forgot that that snob was on when the gas finished. You just came back in anxiety. You reconnected uh, the gas to the cylinder, the snob to the cylinder. So immediately you do that, you just see that the gas will start rushing without fire. So you go to your room or your kitchen in such a scenario, you now start perceiving unfriendly odor. Like we normally say in this word of safety, that when you see something, you see something. When you perceive unusual odor, unusual smell, you are expected to also wait, you are expected to react towards that. Okay, you now rush into your kitchen, or later in the day, you just come into your kitchen, everywhere is engulfed with the smoke of with the odor of gas. What do you do in such a scenario? You are expected not to strike your matches. Don't strike your matches. Just go back to where your gas cylinder is and turn it off. Or better still, disconnect it completely from the gas cylinder. When that is achieved, you come into your kitchen. You now open the windows and the door for cross ventilation. Don't forget, it's one step before the other. The first thing you do is to do what? To disconnect back that gas cylinder from the burner. When that is achieved, you can now come in and open your windows and the door for cross ventilation until the odor is successfully gone. That is number one act of carelessness, and the way to also correct that act of carelessness. We have other forms of carelessness. Like you have some of us, we are very funny. You have your vehicle, you are traveling, you check your brake, your brake is very weak. Okay, the best thing for you to do in such a scenario is to do what? Is to have the brake fixed. Just like you woke up very, very early in the morning, you start your car, you start the oil, the fuel inside your tank cannot take you to a filling station. And you are saying, God, in Jesus' name, let this car take me to a filling station. You can't be joking. Okay? The reality of what is expected of you is to what? Is to get the car fueled. Okay? You get fuel into the car and the car can take you to where you are going to. So also is your brake. You saw that your brake is not working. The best thing is to fix it. Because if anything happened as a result of your failure of brake, we say what? Is an accident, yes, but it comes up because of your what? Your own negligence. It's a popular saying that do not pick calls while driving. Because the content of the call coming, the incoming call, you don't know. Maybe it's that can throw you off balance, or the one that you know may give you heart attack. So because you don't know the content of the oncoming, in fact, your loved one you spoke with couples of minutes ago may come out again to give you a shocking revelation. That is why it is safe for you to do what? Park your car before you attempt to pick any call. Now, if you fail to adhere to the rules and you pick your call while driving, it now leads to an accident, which leads to fire. Such an accident will also be classified as what? Act of carelessness. We have lots of others. We have like the word of these disasters. You have the flood. You have the rest. Okay, flood. You're told do not build your house in a flood-prone area. You say no. I'm an architect of years. If I fix it, I erect it very well with good concrete. Of course, flood cannot have effect on such a building. That is for you, my brothers and sisters. If flood have not visited you in such a scenario, maybe flood is having important meetings, or is attending to other important issues. When it's done attending to those important issues, it will come back to you and visit you. Because if you must build your house in a flood-prone area, you must have provided alternative routes for the flood. If that is not done, flood will still come there. So all this is also part of what? Act of carelessness. You have your building, very beautiful building, mansion of this world. You built your house without considering what we call thunder arrestor. Okay? Thunder arrestor, before you know what's happening, you have your gadget all on. And there is a thunder strike that leads to the destruction of your appliances. At times, it also leads to fire. If it happens in such a scenario, we say it's what? It's also another word, act of carelessness. Now, the one that is very close to every one of us here present is a day. We have a very fatigued, hectic day at work. You now got home, you are very hungry, okay, and you want to sleep because when you are tired, when you have an hectic day, you'll be very tired, you'll be very weak. Okay, you now so let you use the last energy in you to place something on fire As you are doing that, you clearly have naps. Okay, before you know this happening, the water dry off. Your house gets into fire. So when you are tired, you don't go closer to cooking. Okay, when you are cooking, you must be what? You must be standing. Standing is that you are alert. You must be at alert for you to cook. If you are not at alert, then cooking is not safe for you. Okay, other act of carelessness: storage of PMS, premium motor spirit. You've been told it's not even allowed for you to have premium motor spirit stored within your house, because it has a specific uh, iron container to store premium motor spirits. That's why you see over the years when people use jerry cans, gallons to store PMS, you see they start swelling up, expanding. As it's expanding, it's weakening. It will get to a time that weakness will now lead to bursting. Okay, because it's not a container to store such a material. Okay, if you have it stored in your house, in within your premises, it can lead to fire. Another rules: many of us that are using let me say camp gas, in many fora we've discouraged the use of gas. And if you must use gas, you must be ready to obey the simple safety rules that says your gas cylinder is expected to be outside your kitchen, not you burying your gas cylinder under your cabinet. We have so many instances that at least, and it has a lot of you putting your gas cylinder inside your kitchen. Many will also argue we are putting our gas cylinders in our kitchen because of safety. Safety, I mean, because of security. Security must not be ahead safety. In a sink line, safety first is what people say. And not just saying, it must be seen being practiced. Okay? In doing that, you must ensure that what your gas cylinder is piped outside. Okay? If there's any situation that the gas cylinder want to explode, you can be rest assured that it is very low possibility that it can bring out your building. But if it is within the building, of course, it has high possibility that could bring out the building. We've also seen inverter batteries exploding. Okay, we even had one that happened very recently in Abuja here, in a very popular estate. Okay, there was a battery, inverter battery that exploded, and it affected about two buildings by the left, another two buildings by the right. Okay, in a two-story building. That building too, both from the first, second story, in fact, ground floor, all were badly affected by only what? Explosion of what? Inverter battery. Now, how does that inverter battery lead to such? It's about what? Inferior cabling. In wiring your house, you must not go below standard. When you are cutting corner, it's also an act of carelessness. Because if you had known the consequences of what you are doing, you won't have ventured into it. So this and more are acts of carelessness. Now let's move to accidents. When we say accident, it's something that happens suddenly, unprepared. You're not informed. You never expected it. It only happens suddenly, and it leads to destruction of lives and property. In fact, at times it takes time. Okay, there are so many ways in which negative affect ones. You may say, okay, this is an accident. It affects lives. It affects properties. Even it affects daily activities. Like I normally tell a friend that when you have case with police, that's when you now know the value of your freedom. Can you imagine you are being told, Oga, you are innocent. The other partner is guilty. But despite you being innocent and identifying the guilty person, you were told, Oga, come back tomorrow morning by to attend to, and you were there earlier as scheduled. That's no, Oga, this 10 a.m. is too early. Please wait till 11, till 12. That time being consumed to have used for another important things is also affecting. So when we talk about artificial
Please, let's be patient. I think the network is challenging. Please, let's be patient while he comes back on. Chief Okwelu, you can unmute yourself.
Not responding.
No, call him there to unmute.
Can't find him now.
Oh, he's okay. He's back. Tell him now. Tell him. I'll ask
I
him.
can't find him now.
No, just
I've
talk.
seen it. I've seen it.
Okay.
Unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, yes, up. It's up. He's up.
It's off again.
No, he's already coming on. Just wait. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the glitch. It's a low network bandwidth. All right. As I was saying, we're discussing accidents as second point of causes of fire. And I was telling you about the types of accidents, which could be natural or artificial. And I said the artificial accident, which is otherwise known as man-made accident, is the one caused as a result of our own negligence, act of carelessness. And I've mentioned two earlier in the course of me discussing act of carelessness, which involve thunder strike, thunder lightning, and flood. Okay, we have other artificial accidents which is caused by man. Okay, so liquid storage of gas. Okay, that is liquefied petroleum gas and other forms of gases. Now we're going to the natural accident. The natural accidents are from God Almighty. Like you have in this world, we talk about wildfire. Wildfire are forms of fire that involve happened in Los Angeles. That was the latest in that leads to so many destructions of lives and properties. Okay, though we have others, but it's not as much as destruction is not as much as that of LA. What happened to that? It's all about what? Heat, harmattan, and dry season. Although many people are that is as a result of what? Fire cracker. Okay, which from one point is spread like what we say, spreading like wildfire. It indeed spread very fast because of what? The weather. We also have other forms of wildfire. The one that happened in Portugal about 3 years ago. No, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago. That fire took about 3 to 4 months in fighting. You can imagine fighting a fire for days, weeks, and at least a month because of what? The of the bush, and not just the size of the such a fire. Now, such a fire that is called wildfire could come as a result of thunder lightning. Maybe there's a thunder lightning just strike. The next thing discloses dry grass to it, catches fire. We also have instances whereby all these so-called um, bush men, people that goes into the bush to take snap different animals in their real states, different one picking them up like, okay, this is what this is doing. This is when they also go around inside the bush at times. They also smokes. So when they discard the leftover of their cigarette carelessly, that could also lead to what? Wildfire. But if it happened as a result of careless display of leftover cigarette, it will be classified under what? Man-made accident. But if it is as a result of thunder lightning, that will be classified as what? Natural accident. Okay, you see that one has 2 legs. Okay, we also have others which are natural. We have the tornado of this world, we have the earthquake of this world, we have the tsunami of this world, and lots of others that are all classified under natural accidents. Now, the third one, though we are facing that out gradually, is what we refer to as arson. Arson is a willful act, deliberate act, intentional act of putting a place on fire, setting a place on fire. Of course, you may deliberately want to set the place of set certain document on fire. Maybe this document are highly confidential. They must not be seen outside. Okay, instead of you to have it flowing around, you just set it on fire and supervise the burning. Okay, even that is even almost archaic. These days now we have shredding machine. Such a document will just be put into shredding machine and it will shred it into almost uh, unarranged, that in a state where it can never be arranged. Okay, such a machine will help to shred such a document and it will not be seen anywhere. Okay, now when we now say willful arson act, we have act of setting a place of fire to gain cheap political popularity. When I say cheap political popularity, you have these campaign officers, the politicians, that they want to witch hunt their political opponents. Okay, like it's okay, that man is too much, is this, the set is cars ablaze, his campaign vehicles, you see even campaign offices being burnt. Even in the time past, election is approaching, you see INEC office on fire. Okay, but thank God those days when we are approaching end of the year, we usually record high number of fire outbreak in government offices, particularly offices where you have sensitive documents like the account section and the rest. But thank God for technology, invention of technology today. In those days, generator house will not get fire. Inverter, what do they call it? Where fuel are stored will not get fire, because those days inverter was not even out of, well, inverter was even out of it. Okay, will not get fire. But the last floor, also go to the last floor where you have the accountant, the finance director office will be the one that will be on fire. But thank God for technology, thank God for information, thank God for backup. Even if you claim that such a thing happened that claims your documents, most of the documents are also expected to be saved in the cloud. So those documents will be retrieved and necessary action will be taken where necessary. So that has helped us to reduce the rate at which you see fire occurring in government offices, mostly towards the end of the year. So this is an act of arson. We also have others. You see staff, they say, oh no, this company, this organization has offended me. They must not go unpunished. Therefore, what will happen? You set their building on fire. No, that must be totally be discouraged. It must not be seen amongst man, because no sinner will go unpunished. So such a thing must not be seen. You see a filling station in a structure zone, you say no. You are being instructed, sir, as you are coming in, don't come in with your car, because we are doing what? We are offloading PMS, Premium Motor Spirit. Despite the strict condition and instructions we've given them over the years, they have all these laid down rules on how they are expected to operate. But because of sharp corners, people will want to do what? They want to get away with it. And mostly at times, if they are unlucky, it will lead to destruction of lives and property. That is why in discharging petrol, premium motor spirit in the filling station, it has time. It is expected to be done between an hour of 7 p.m. above or before 7 a.m. earlier in the day. Okay, what are we trying to achieve? To ensure that the sunlight is totally put under control. It's not as scorchy, and that will reduce even influx of vehicle at those periods. Okay, these are more are what we call causes of fire. We have other things that leads to fire that we'll talk about it. Okay, that fire in the real sense of it must not be allowed to happen by all means, because prevention, they say, is better than cure. If it does not happen, there won't be need of you calling fire officers. There won't be need of you running elter skelter. So the business or the rules or the saying that fire is for only fire officers, no, it's business for all. When you play your part, I play my part. You can listen to the prof when he was telling you that you will call people for emergency at times. They will tell you there is no water, there is no battery, there is no fuel. Those ones are times of past. They are in the past, not in federal fire service of today, because we have improved tremendously, particularly under the leadership of the Controller General Samuel Adeyemi Olumode. He has brought in new energy, and those wrong impression are now bad wagons. They are things of past, not of today. If you call fire service on this emergency number is 080 32 3557. I take the number again. It's 080 32 Irrespective of where you are within the country, if you call this number will direct you, or will direct the closest fire station to you to come to your rescue. Mind you, fire service can only do little. The bulk of the work is in our hands by ensuring that we also practice and do basic fire prevention within our homes. Just like Prof was talking about evacuation drill, you must practice it time to time. They say practice leads to perfection. It will take us to what happened in Afriland, Lagos. You can see it's unfortunate, and we pray such never happen again. But it's almost happening. We prevent such is by we ensuring that we put ourselves into practice, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, or at worst twice in a year. It's business of all. It is when you know. You can imagine if you're not good, but in a smoky environment, you are expected to go down 1 meter below. On that 1 meter below, you can easily crawl. When you crawl, as you are crawling, you have visibility with fresh air, because it's established that smoke is lighter than air, than oxygen. So smoke will always go higher and the oxygen will be underneath. So you can easily crawl, and you can crawl to your closest exit way. Also, your exit way must not be obstructed, by anything. If you have alternative exit route, they must be made to be exit route alternatively. Not when emergency come that you now start bringing out things you use to obstruct the alternative exit route. No, it must be written there, alternative exit route or emergency exit way. You understand? Also, in your building, you must ensure you promote and you have proper signages speaking to people. In case of an emergency, you have visitor, you don't know when it will happen. That's why signages this way to exit, that way to your way out. No, that's a stairway. It's informing you that this is the closest way to get yourself out in a situation of what? An emergency. Okay, this and more are what further helps to promote should in case there is fire, because the question of fire, as we've explained explicitly, we have all the question of fire depending on the event that you've experienced and you've read of or you've seen. Okay, so in doing so, you need to ensure that you practice what we call evacuation drill. Evacuation drill is a drill that is carried out in as if it's a real fire situation. Not fire situation, but you are expected to practice the way you are expected to behave in case there's a real fire. For instance, you have your building about 3 it is established. During an you are expected to make use of your what? Stairways. Now, a stairways you've not used for the past 3, 4, 5 years, you want to use it because it's an emergency, you can never be found to be fit for that. So that's why at times, while going to work, deliberately exercise yourself to make use of stairways at least once in a week, once or twice in a week. You are doing that not because you wanted to, but it's also an act of preparing yourself should in case there's an emergency. Because when there's an emergency, your lift will become what? Disabled. You won't be able to use your lift when there's an emergency. Is that stairways you abandoned for years? You've not been practicing. You are not used to. It's the same stairways you will be advised or you will be rescued through. So that is why you must ensure you know what to do. You get yourself acquainted with this basic fire prevention and control. Okay? Another one is not enough for you to have it. Now we are seeing participants here of almost 500 participants coming, dropping high. You are like an ambassador that you're expected to take this crusade, this gospel, back to your various units, your smallest unit, your family, your group, your church, your mosque, and let people be aware that this thing is real. Okay? I'm not aware, it's not recognized, it's not known by the law. I'm not aware, or ignorant rather. It's not recognized by the law. So for you not to fall a victim of I don't know, you are better to be informed. Tell your church member, your mosque member, your club member, your association, your immediate family. This is how you prevent fire. And you see those, I also heard Prof talking about fire bucket. Yes, fire bucket is an act of improvisation. Okay, in the past, we use fire bucket very well because we have low record of fire extinguishers around. So people rather use fire bucket because of oil spillage and others. But these days, you have your distribute dry chemical powder installed, all placed at the point, particularly in the filling station. Okay, instead of using that fire bucket with sand, okay, you rather, okay, there's a fuel spillage here, use your detergent and wash it off. And if there's an emergency that requires you to use fire bucket, your fire extinguisher is there to do the job. Okay, but still, we are still in use, particularly in area where they don't have fire extinguishers. And nowhere in the Nigeria of today, in our society of today, that you will say you don't have fire extinguisher to yourself. Also, the vein of that, no home, you're not supposed to have a kitchen without you having what we call fire blankets. The importance of fire blanket cannot be overemphasized. It has multiple usage. It's used to cut away oxygen from fire, yes, like in your kitchen. You can use fire blanket to cover yourself and rush out of the scene of fire. You can use fire blanket to cover an infant and rescue such an infant away from the scene of fire. Fire blanket, because it's fire blanket, does not mean it cannot burn. It can burn, but only what happens is that it has some level of fire retardant in it. Okay, these are all causes of fire and how you can mitigate. So earlier that the major crusade is never let fire occur. Don't let it happen. We have the three elements. Never let the three elements come together with the chemical reaction. Even if they are together, the chemical reaction must not be allowed to activate, because you understand, we have heat. Oxygen is always in excess because 1% oxygen. Fire only requires 60%. Fire only requires 60% of oxygen to get to work. Okay, so don't forget, when you crawl out of a building that is engulfed with smoke, you are expected to shut your door. Okay, going to bed, you don't keep your key outside the door, because in the case of an emergency, you may never remember where you kept the key. Even your name that you've been bearing for years, like Lpmv Ibrahim, for years, okay, over many decades. Okay, there will be an emergency, they will call in the name same Lpmv, you'll be looking as if you're not the one, because the closest one is when you have your cell phone, your answer to deal. You will be telling the friend, please, can you call my phone? I can't find it. A friend will be dialing your number and your phone will be ringing right inside your pocket. You will not be to, okay, see the phone now. Oh my, sorry. That tells you that, yes, insanity, some seconds is real, particularly in times of anxiety. Okay, so these are what is expected of us in fire, in causes of fire, and how you can also mitigate the fire itself. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Thank you, Chief, for that wonderful presentation. Really appreciate you. God bless you. Quickly, we'll be going straight to question and answer segment. If you have a question, just raise your hands. You'll be given the privilege to ask your question. Please, straight to the point. You have 1 minute to ask your question. All right, so let's go. Let's begin with Ibrahim Isahaku, then Rajere Felix. I think I know this Rajere Felix. Ibrahim Isahaku, unmute your mic. Ibrahim is not there. All right, Rajere Felix, unmute your mic.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, Ibrahim.
Yes. Thank you very much, Prof. I am Ibrahim Isako, as is clearly stated. I'm a final year PhD student for environmental management sustainability at UDS.
Okay.
Now, my question is in two folds. One has to do with clarification. The other one is a follow-up question. Prof, it is true that if you look at the northern part of Ghana, fire has engulfed the whole of northern part of the country. And these hunters go in to fish for game and they try to dispatch. But I want to ask, do we have a fire safety model in Africa where Ghana can also drive their model from? I need clarification from that. The second leg of the question is that as a fellow for Center for Environmental Management and Sustainability in Accra, when I presented a lead issue, now because of fire, there's a new dimension of floating garden that people want to do. And actually, of late, I was a lead implementer of that project for Sdmvi. Now, the question is, do we have such a fire safety issues in Ghana and even, of course, Nigeria, as you clearly stated? Thank you.
All right, Ibrahim Shaku, for that question. I hand you over to Chief Lpmv Ibrahim. Sir, kindly unmute your mic. Sir, are you there? No, he's here. Just to mute his mic. Mr. Ibrahim Lpmv, kindly unmute your mic. Isaku's question is number one. Is there a fire safety model that Africa can adopt? Yes, including Ghana. And the second question, if I get him correctly, is talking about a floating something that can be adopted. It's like Chief Lpmv's network is really not helping. His audio is not connected again. Please, let's patiently wait for our guest speaker to connect back. Okay, he's back. Sir, please unmute your mic. Mr. Lpmv, please unmute your mic.
Hello. Sorry, can I get the question from Ibrahim Ishaku?
Okay, Ibrahim, please unmute your mic and take the question again. Please, straight to the question, please. You almost spent 2 to 3 minutes now.
Yeah, Prof. And I'm saying that mostly if we have a fire safety model, do we have a fire safety model in Ghana? Because the fires happening in Ghana, in northern part of Ghana.
See, the question is noted. Do we have fire safety model in Africa? Ghana case study.
Africa,
Second
yes,
question,
where Ghana can adopt and modify to suit their current situation. And the second one is that, you know, our 99% or 90% of our people depends on this land. And when crops and animals are destroyed, is there any new dimension of Africa to bring together to deal with a sustainable farming where we can deal with a floating garden, especially in floody areas where flood display a majority of people? Can we have that sustainable farming issue in Africa and of course Ghana?
Thank you. Before Mr. Ibrahim will respond, I think our question should have been narrowed to the subject of this discussion. The second question is purely environmental question. So I think Mr. Okpeyemi should respond to the first question. Don't worry, Ibrahim. Environment is part of our area of operation. There's going to be a segment coming up for that soon. All right. So, Mr. Ibrahim Okpeyemi, kindly unmute your mic and take the first question. Is there any fire safety model in Africa that Ghana can adopt to help them tackle the frequent fire disaster that they are having? Mr. Okpeyemi, are you still there? Please unmute your mic, sir. The network is really not helping at all. Sir, can you try to unmute your mic again? Now, while waiting for Mr. Okpeyemi to get his network stable, there is something I really want us to understand. Okay, Mr. Okpeyemi is back. Okay. Network is not friendly. He's talking, but we can't hear. Sir, please just disconnect and reconnect again, please. Disconnect and reconnect again. Okay, it's up now. You can go ahead, sir.
Please, the question.
Okay, the question is, yes, we understand. Is there any fire safety model in Africa that African can adopt? Case study, Ghana, due to the incessant fire disaster or hazard they are having. Is there any fire safety model that they can adopt to curb the regular fire incident they are having? Network is very bad. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead, yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes, sir. Yes, there is one little of fire, and presently we have a board, like a form of board in our headquarters presently. If you can visit Area 10, Abuja, that's where we have our head office. You see where we monitor and it's work in progress, because part of things that we have as the biggest challenge around Nigeria first is the issue of networks. Okay, just example of what we're seeing here now at the moment. This ought to have almost been running up, but due to networks, and which also slow time of response. So we are working seriously on that, particularly under the leadership of the President Controller General of Federal Affairs Service. And you can be rest assured it will soon be a thing of past and will be made available to the public for uh, further usage.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that response. Let's be fast. Our time is fast spent. We'll take a few questions.
Yes.
Rajiri Felix, kindly unmute your mic. Rajiri
Mr. Felix,
unmute your mic.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, please. My question is this.
Yes, sir.
On we full fire incidents, most times Nigerian markets are seriously being hit, and there is no fire services rendered in the market directly. I believe that a situation whereby there are fire hydrants in markets, and you know that government owns these markets. If there are fire hydrants and fire service right inside the market, to be able to reduce this, is there any way that the government could promulgate a law that every market must have fire services right in their markets? That's my question.
All right, thank you very much for that question, Rajiri Felix. Mr. Koyemi will do justice to it. Chief Okoyemi, please unmute your mic. Hello, sir. Kindly unmute your mic. Mr. Okoyemi, kindly unmute your mic. No, it's on, just to unmute. That is just the challenge right now. Mr. Okoyemi, can you unmute your mic? No, I'm saying, okay, the network is really bad. Very, very.
If I get you right, you're talking about Nigerian market.
Yes, sir.
Are you talking about the fire there, right?
Yes, sir. Insistent market. I said fire incidents always happen in Nigerian markets.
Yes.
No fire hydrant, no fire service present there, no fire extinguisher, nobody present to quench this fire. And mostly it's willful destruction, wasteful fire that have been set in this market, mostly in December time.
Yes, you are very right, sir. You know, the issue is that when your enemy knows your weaknesses, it takes you off from your weaknesses. The rules of fire of fire service rather is a very broad one. Many people just believe when we say fire service, believe it's just pano. It goes beyond pano, but it's a very broad one. And the rules of fire service starts even from your plans before you even start erecting a block, before you even dig a foundation. You're supposed to take your plans to fire service for vetting. When we vet the plan, we will now put in necessary input where necessary. Okay, and we'll also follow you to ensure those inputs are obeyed. But in Nigeria factor, we believe I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. People would rather build a police station in a market than you building a fire station. No market in Nigeria or anywhere is supposed to stand without installation of fire hydrant. Not just hydrant, but there must be what? Functional hydrant.
Yes,
When
sir.
you see people will cry that fire service are coming without water, no, they know they get water now, is fallacy from the pit of hell. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Because all our fire engine across all our stations have the tank filled with water, expecting the next emergency. So if we move with our vehicle, our appliances filled with water within 7 to 8,000 liters of water, if we see serious fire, that 7 to 8,000 liters of water can be expended within 5-6 minutes. So if we are just coming in and you see them going back to refill, you will just assume and conclude that don't mind them, they don't normally have water. Meanwhile, that area where there was fire that we went to put out, if that place has functional hydrant, the only thing we do is to reconnect. Just connect our appliance to that hydrant, it supplies us water, and you see us doing our job with joy.
Sure.
Okay? But majority, more than 85% of Nigerians are guilty of this, particularly the well-to-do people. Okay? If you see people now donating like Dangote did to police, donated hundreds of vehicles to police. Airports donate hundreds of hydrants. In the strategic places, not just donating of that hydrant for hydrant's sake, they must also be functional. That's why you hear in Prof's presentation, he said fire tools are meant to be maintained. Don't just buy your fire extinguisher inside your car.
All right. I think the network is not really friendly tonight. Rajere, I believe your question has been given adequate answer, and the time is fast spent tonight. My only concern and appeal to every one of us this wonderful evening is let's do well to take programs like this serious. Honestly, we really need them. The last time where I was privileged to be with Chief Okoyemi, we were discussing and we observed some markets in Abuja. If there is fire in those markets, the fire truck cannot enter. Why? The structure were not properly designed. No, there's no fire truck that can enter any of those markets. And they don't see the need that, what if fire happen any day? Well, want to really appreciate every one of you for making our time to be part of this program on this International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. The good news I have for every one of us tonight is you are going to be getting a certificate, and not just a certificate, you're also going to be getting something special apart from the certificate. Further information will be made available in our various WhatsApp classes. So go back to your class. You will get information in those classes. For everyone who intend to ask questions and you are not given the privilege to ask your question because of the bad nature of the network tonight from the end of our guest speaker, we are sorry. And if your question is so pressing, don't worry. The class will be open tomorrow morning. You can drop your question there and we'll do our best to see how the answers will be provided for us. All right. So let's drop emojis for Chief Lpmv for that wonderful presentation. It was awesome. It was awesome. Far better than what we discussion. This one is excellent. When you say something is excellent, this one is really excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those emojis. They are wonderful. So let's keep our eyes on the platform. More of these programs are going to be coming up all throughout this month going forward. We need to really create awareness. We need to build resilience. Very important. And you see, resilience begins with knowledge, knowing what to do. When you, like, there's something Chief Lpmv mentioned now, which I am guilty of. You understand? So as we keep meeting like this, knowledge is being passed. All right. Now, you'll be getting something tonight on your WhatsApp class. Yes, go back to your classes. Something will be posted this night for you to do. All right. Let's get involved. Okay. You're also going to be, like I said, you are going to get a certificate and you are going to be getting an award alongside the certificate. All right. You're going to be proud of it. And it's absolutely free. You are not paid. This is courtesy of the Society of Disaster Management Volunteers Initiative and Laplace Metaverse. All right. You're going to be getting an award that you showcase. Let everybody know that you are a global advocate for funding resilience and not disaster. Once again, thank you very much for making our time to be part of this program tonight. We love you. Like we said, put your eyes on the screen, on your classes, informations will be coming. So expect, go back, like I said, go back to your WhatsApp classes. Go back to your WhatsApp classes so that you don't miss anything at all. All right. Good night. You can unmute your mic and express your.
Good night to you, sir.
Good
Thank you
night.
so
Thank
much,
you for
Professor.
providing
Very much. The lecture was so nice.
Thank you so
sir.
much.
Bye bye.
This one was the lecture was so nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and thank you for the effort that you have been compiling together for us. From you people, may God bless you and may you collect more. Thank you very much.